Hello there, welcome back to Jennie Designs with Paper. Thanks for stopping by my channel today. I'm working on a card with layered die cuts, so get comfy and let's get crafty. Today I will be using the honeybee stamps. This is the layered, let me see what it's called, Lovely Layers Coneflower dies. I will also be using the Art Deco label dies. I will be using one of the sentiments from this little freebie stamp set I got. I have a brown card base, and I will be using a piece of pattern paper from the Honeybee Stamps Vitamin C pattern paper pad. There we go. I'm going to cut all of the coneflowers and leaves out of white cardstock, and then I will be coloring those layers with Copic markers. Now, originally, I cut enough pieces to make 3 flowers with 2 leaves per flower, but I only ended up using 1, so I'm only going to show you the coloring for 1. The first step I did was to take each of the 2 parts of the flower, the center of the cone and the petals, and layered them up so I knew how they went. And then using a trick, or it's not a trick, it's a method, I guess, that I learned from Kelly Taylor. I layer the stamps, or the dies rather, down on top of each other, and then kind of fill in the parts that stick out. Except for here on the coneflower part, I just colored in the entire base. Now you see me doing it 3 times because, like I said, I cut parts out for 3 flowers, but I only used 1, so that's all you get to see today. The center has 2 pieces, and one piece just has a little bit of an opening in the bottom, and then the other piece is solid, and then the top layer of each of the flower has that rounded part as well. So for the centers, I'm using my E70 family with my Copic markers. And I started off, I did each layer twice. I felt like it needed a little less blending and a little more texture because it's the center of a flower. It needs to be less perfect and more, like I said, more texture. So I started with the E74, I went to E73, E71, and E70, I think. I think I used the 0, or E71 maybe. Once I had all of the centers cut, I then selected some corally orange colors for my coneflower. I apologize for the lack of focus. I'm not sure what was going on with my camera. I thought I had it all fixed. So here is the little method or trick I learned from Kelly Taylor. You layer your dies up on top of each other and take your lightest color and give yourself a starting place for where each layer pokes out from behind the one in front of it, right? So I did that with the lightest color I'm using, and that was a R02. And then I'm going back with my darkest color, and my darkest color I'm using is an R27. And I went farther down than my, in the underneath part of the layer than my lightest color did, but that was just to make sure I didn't have any white showing. I'm also kind of going around the edges of these pieces. And I'm doing all of the R27s at one time. There are 4 layers of petals to this coneflower die, or lovely layer set, whatever you want to call it. And I just did all of the R27s at one time. There's not so much coloring or ink going down that it won't blend. I'm not worried about that. I'm not coloring a huge area that I really need to have saturated and wet to blend. And after I used the R27, I went in with a R46, I think, or 36. Gosh, I can't remember, and I lost my Post-it note. I think it's the R46 is the next one that I use in this particular color palette. Like I said, I'm going for more of a corally orange color, but then kind of like a tomato red, I guess, is a better name for it. So again, I went back and I just kind of slightly overlapped my darkest color with my second darkest color, and then pulled that color out a little bit. And from putting them together, I can tell, like I kind of remembered when I was coloring how much of each petal was exposed in the next layer, so I knew where to leave my highlights. And you'll notice on my last layer, the bottom layer, the fullest layer, I don't use any of my lightest color. This is all the back petals, so they are all just a 3-color blend. After the R346, I went to an R05. I jumped down that far because this is where I'm adding in my highlight and my lighter layers. But also, as you go over and blend those colors out, it doesn't look too light. Like, it looks kind of perfect. And then my lightest color was an R01. So that is a very light color, but it's the perfect color for the highlight. And then, like I said, on that back section, I put none of that. Like, I went over the white pieces, like the white parts of that back layer die, but I didn't add, there's no highlights left on those petals in the back, right? They're in the background, there's no highlight left. And then I decided, because of using white cardstock, I need to kind of layer them up and then make sure that there's no white edge showing. So that's what I'm doing there. Any place I can see a white edge, I'm adding some of that the darkest red, the R, whatever it was. Sorry, I can't remember now. And then I did the same thing with the base. I brought out my darkest, the E74, and went around the edges of that, the cone part of the flower, right? The bulb, the middle, the center. Except cone flowers, I don't know, it's kind of weird. And then, you know what, you guys? I put my flower on upside down. I don't even know what I was thinking. You're going to laugh at me when you see me put this card together. I full on assembled it onto my card upside down. And by the time I realized it, the adhesive was way too stuck to change it without damaging my card. So, yeah, there's that. But anyway, I am adding that the darker, the E74, just to make sure that none of that white cardstock peeks out. So now that we have all the parts of the flower colored, I'm going to clean up my work surface there. I'm going to start assembling. So I've taken my Bearly Arts glue. I am using a liquid glue, so I have a little time to fidget and get it all lined up just right properly. If you use a dry adhesive, you don't necessarily have that much time. And these layers are meant to just lay down right flat on top of each other, and each layer fills in the flower. So I'm just going one layer at a time, adding those layers together. So this card was, okay, first of all, I made it like 2 weeks ago, so remembering the order I did things in is a stretch. But this card was just one of those ones. I've had this lovely layer set for a while, and I hadn't used it. I've also had those Art Deco labels for a while and haven't used them for a while. So I just wanted to kind of sit and play. There was not really a rhyme or reason. I just went through my bin of things I haven't used or things I haven't used in a while. I think all of these are things I hadn't used yet. So I just went through my bin and pulled out things I haven't used yet. And I have, it's Stamptember over at Simon Says Stamp, so I'm going to have a lot of things in my bin because I have been ordering things. All right, now that the flower is colored, we're going to go ahead, and I've got 6 leaves down on this surface. I did not use them all clearly. The Lovely Layers dies adds embossing to the layers. So the first color, I went in with my leaves, and I just took that darkest color and went over all the embossed lines. That's all I did. So everywhere you can see me coloring is just an embossed line from the die. I clearly did not need to leave all 6 of these leaves in, but I did, so you're welcome. The second color, I filled in those lines. So I kind of went around them, but also mostly I just added that darker color to the bottom and slightly up the center of the leaf. And that's because these leaves are going to be poking out from behind the petals, and so they're going to be darker down at that bottom section of the leaf. I was kind of thinking more along the lines of placement than like overlapping shadows than a light source shadow for these leaves. So I'm just continuing with that. Here's the third color in my blend, adding that third darkest color or second lightest color, however you want to think about it, up toward the edges, leaving the very tip and edge of the leaves for my fourth color, my highlight color, because they're going to be poking out from behind the flower. Sorry, I'm saying a lot because, like I said, I made this card like 2 weeks ago, and I'm remembering what I did when I watch it for the voiceover. So, sorry. Here is my lightest color, and I'm kind of going over all of the colors to blend that in, not just focusing on the tips. It kind of gives it that blended look. I Kind of wish I hadn't gone down quite as far into that darker shadow area, but it's okay. It'll all work out. We're just going to get all of these leaves all finished, and then we're going to start with the assembly. So the first thing I did was pull in my card base, and I have an 8.5 by 4 1/4 inch piece of cardstock. And I've cut it, or scored it rather, at the 5.5 inch mark. So I have a US A2 size card. It is 5.5 inches by 4 1/4 inches, and it's a top folding card. And then I've taken the largest of the dies and cut out my panel. And I'm going to measure that real quick while you watch me assemble this card with the flower upside down. The largest of these dies is on its tallest point, 4.5 by 3 3/4 ish. Okay, so that's the size of the panel that I used in the Art Deco label. And then I use that little piece of a stamp set. I'm using the really long sentiment that says, "I miss you so much," because I'm going to send this to a friend that I have. She has been, oh my gosh, we met like in the year 2000. Okay, we have been friends for over 2 decades. And I just miss her, and she just became a grandma, and I just miss her. And see, right here, I have the flower correct. I have the petals hanging down and the cone upright. I have it correct there. But y'all, I don't even know what I did. Like, I had the placement right. It was one element. I didn't think I needed to take a picture of it because I was going to get everything just right. And I decided to put some foam tape on the back of my flower here to pop it up. That way I have a little space to shove the leaves under right, so it'll all lay down right. So I'm cutting me some little pieces of foam tape. This is the Altenew foam tape. It's great. The only thing I like better about the 3M foam tape is I don't have to cut it. The backing paper tears. So, and then I grabbed my tweezers, and look what I did. I put the petals up. This is a cone flower, y'all. Cone flower petals hang down. They hang down. I cannot even. It just is, right? It just is. I think before I send it to my friend, I am going to try and carefully disassemble it and put the flower back on correctly, because it's bugging my heck. Like, it's sitting on my desk, staring at me, and it's bugging me that I put that on upside down. I just don't even know. Anyway, I added some liquid glue to the back of that sentiment strip, and then I needed a brand new Wink of Stella pen, so I opened up a package, a brand new Wink of Stella pen, and I primed it on that scrap paper, and it blurped out all over the place. So I'm just using the brush tip of my Wink of Stella pen to pick up that stuff, the glitter, the shimmery stuff that's squeezed out, and spread it all over my petals. So it'll look a little bit like dew, right? And then I'm taking a white Jelly Roll pen. This is a number 10, and I'm adding some highlights to the leaves a little bit and the center of the flower. I'm going to go ahead and add my white piece of copy paper to the inside of my card so that I can write my friend a sweet note, because gosh, I miss her. I have not seen her in like, oh my heavens, it's been like 3 years now. And then I decided to add some. These are the Holiday Wishes pearls from Honeybee Stamps, and I couldn't find my Poke Tool, so I'm using tweezers, and they're flying all over my desk. It was extra. But anyway, in spite of the fact that the flower is upside down, which I will fix, I love how the card turned out. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. I hope you enjoyed the video. I have a couple of other videos here that I think you will like as well. I've also added that subscribe button. If you haven't subscribed, I would love it if you did. Leave me a comment down below, and have a really fabulous day.